Welcome to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Chavez. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and restorative wellness practitioner on a mission to change the way that we support women with endometriosis. Endo is a full-body disease that impacts your mind, body, and spirit in countless ways that aren't often addressed the way that women truly deserve. We are here to talk about all of it. Please keep in mind that the content of this show has been created for educational purposes only and should never be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. Hey, my friend, and welcome back to the Endo Belly Girl podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about constipation because if you have endometriosis and you're constipated, here's the truth. You're not just backed up, most likely your gut is inflamed, your hormones are stuck in a vicious cycle, and if you don't get to the bottom of it, you are just going to keep feeling bloated, sluggish, and miserable, and nobody wants that. I have helped dozens of Endo Warriors go from being stuck on the couch for days in pain and bloated to having daily pain-free bowel movements and actually feeling like themselves again. And by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how endo is connected with your digestion, what's keeping you constipated, and the steps that you can take today to finally get relief. We're breaking down the biggest myths, the root causes no one's talking about, and the real strategies beyond just eat more fiber that actually work. So let's get into it. Starting out with our myths versus truths. Myth. Constipation just means that you're not eating enough fiber. The truth, fiber is important, but hydration, gut motility, and your nervous system function all play key roles as well. Myth number 2, if you're pooping every couple of days, that's normal. The truth, a healthy bowel movement should happen at least once a day. Less than that means waste is sitting in your system for too long, leading to inflammation and hormone imbalances. Myth number 3, laxatives are the best way to fix constipation. The truth, overusing laxatives can lead to dependency and worsen gut motility over time. The goal is to support movement, not force it. All right, so let's take a look first at why regular bowel movements matter and how it's connected with endometriosis. So, first of all, let's talk toxins because your gut is one of the primary detoxification pathways. And if your waste sits too long in your digestive tract, your body can end up reabsorbing those toxins and waste. Yuck. We want to take those toxins all the way to the toilet. And then we have to look also at hormone balance because pooping daily helps you to eliminate excess estrogen. If you're constipated, estrogen can actually be reabsorbed and recirculated in your body, which can then lead to estrogen dominance, which can add fuel to the fire for endometriosis. And then we also have to talk the gut inflammation connection because constipation can contribute to gut dysbiosis, and that can make symptoms like bloating and food sensitivities worse. And then, last but not least for today, we have to talk about endometriosis, the impact it has on gut motility, because things like adhesions, inflammation, and even nervous system dysregulation can slow down your digestion and contribute to chronic constipation. All right, you guys know that I love a root cause approach, so we're going to look at some of the underlying contributing factors to constipation so that as we're digging into some ways to support constipation, some things that you can try, you have an understanding of why that stuff can be supportive and how it can actually help your body. So first, we have to talk diet because things like eating too many processed foods, inflammatory foods, and just generally having a diet that's lower in nutrients or, food sensitivities in your body, all of those things can really impact the motility of your bowels. And then I had mentioned fiber earlier, and, dietary fiber does still matter. I mentioned that in the myths just because that is something that some people will kind of lean on that as the only thing that matters when it comes to bowel movements. It's not the only thing, but it is absolutely an important thing. You do need dietary fiber. Best way to get that into your body is cooked vegetables. Just get in your veggies. You definitely want to focus around cooked veggies. Sometimes raw veggies can be a little more irritating to the system, but just lightly cooked, steamed veggies or sautéed veggies can be a really great way to get that dietary fiber in and keep things moving along. If you're one of those people, because I do hear this sometimes in my practice, that you get worse with fiber. Let's say you eat a whole bunch of veggies, you're getting all the fiber in and you feel worse. That could be a sign that you have more of a motility issue. Now, when it comes to motility, there's a few things to consider with that because there's kind of different pieces when it comes to motility. One of those pieces is peristalsis, which is, think about when you swallow, that kind of wave-like motion that you see in your throat. That's your esophagus, basically squeezing food down the tube with those muscles to your stomach. That's peristalsis. You can see it up top there at your esophagus, but that really happens all throughout your intestines as well to kind of move food along as it enters the system. And that is very much related to the gut-brain axis, to the nervous system. All of that really impacts peristalsis. And there are some simple things you can do to help to support that. We're going to talk about that in a little bit as we talk about ways to support your motility and constipation. But just know that the nervous system is a huge part of that. But then there's also a piece called the migrating motor complex. And that's really the part that's at work when you're not eating. This is why it's important to have breaks between your meals, why you don't want to be eating just all day, every day. We want to have a good 4 or 5 hour gap between your meals so that this migrating motor complex can do its work. And basically what that portion does is it moves things through when you're not eating. It washes out toxins and all the things that might be left, even bacteria that can land in the small intestine. It washes it out and keeps things moving along. So we definitely want that to be happening well also. And then hydration, right? Many people may think they're hydrating well enough, but just aren't. We're going to talk hydration strategies in a bit, but just know for now that A, you got to drink enough water, and B, water alone just isn't enough. You have to also have electrolytes, which are a category of minerals that help your body to actually absorb the water that you're drinking. So hydration, water plus electrolytes. Lack of movement is another thing that can really contribute to constipation. Honestly, something that we're starting to see more and more in our lives that are just becoming more and more sedentary. You may have heard the phrase before, sitting is the new smoking, right? And there's some truth to that in the sense that movement is super important for so many areas of our health. We're going to just be focusing on digestion today. So in this instance, we actually need physical movement to help to keep our digestive tract moving. And that's such a simple thing to try, right? Get up and go for a walk. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, right? I always like to say movement is different than exercise, right? So if you're thinking, man, I have to hit the gym every day, that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but moving your body on a daily basis, definitely important. We'll circle back to that one as well. Pelvic floor dysfunction is another one, and we're not going to dig super deep into this today, but I did do an interview a while back with Emily Mason, who is a pelvic floor physical therapist. She's fantastic and has a lot of wonderful information on that. So if you'd like to hear more about pelvic floor therapy in particular and just how your pelvic floor can impact your bowel movements, head on back to episode 18, From Pelvic Pain to Pelvic Wellness with Dr. Emily Mason. That's a great one. I will link to that in the show notes if you would like to listen in on that episode. But we're not going to dig super deep into that topic today because it's not really my area of expertise. And I know that Dr. Emily Mason can share so much information with you on that. And then we also have to think, when we're thinking about what might be contributing to constipation, this is one of the big areas that I focus in on my practice, although really we talk about all of that stuff, digestive issues. Now, we have to really think when it comes to constipation, we're not just thinking what's happening with digestion at the very end there with the large intestine. We're really thinking of how your digestion is working from top to bottom, from north to south, because everything that happens along your digestive tract, it impacts everything further down the line as well. So when you have things going on, like you have low stomach acid, which is super common, I see that all the time in my practice. You have low enzyme activity. You have bile issues. I was going to say bowel issues, maybe that too. Bile issues, which is the substance that your gallbladder releases to help to break down fats. That can impact constipation. Maybe you have some dysbiosis happening, which is an imbalance in the gut bacteria in the large intestine. Maybe you have some small intestine bacterial overgrowth happening, which can absolutely impact your motility and the ability for everything to move through your digestive tract with ease. And those are all things you may need to look into to really get to the bottom of what's going on with that constipation, especially if it's a chronic issue for you. So those are some of the main things that can really contribute to constipation, especially if it's, like I said, happening on a regular basis. I did want to mention also, I think this is just a good thing to know, that I was actually just talking to a client the other day who was mentioning to me that she tends to get constipated more in her luteal phase of her cycle, shortly before her period starts, or that time in between ovulation and your period. And that can also happen because of increasing progesterone in your system. So as progesterone increases, it can actually contribute to constipation, whereas the opposite is true. With so many people I hear talking about the period poops, right? How your bowels tend to loosen up when your period first begins, and that's due to that drop off of the hormones, as well as some prostaglandins in your system. That's kind of a topic for another day. We'll dig into that in a future episode, but I think that's important to know. If your constipation is kind of more on a cyclical nature, that can be something to pay attention to as well. It can also be related to the hormones that are fluctuating in your body. But what I really want to dig into here, this is my favorite part as we're talking through this stuff, is all the strategies to help to support regularity in your bowels, to help to support avoiding constipation, because let's be real, it's not very fun. Nor is it very beneficial for your health in general. So the basics when it comes to supporting constipation are going to be your diet, eating enough fiber and veggies, and just eating a more nutrient-rich diet in general, working to reduce the processed foods and sugar and alcohol and things that can have a negative impact on your gut, and really focusing in on the healthy proteins and veggies and the things that are going to really nourish your body and even nourish your microbiome, right? It impacts things on so many levels. Moving and breathing, super important. Addressing stress, super important. We're going to circle back to that stuff. Those are really your three foundations, right? Your diet, your movement and breath, and addressing stress. So circling back to the fiber and veggies, I mentioned that just eating some cooked veggies on a daily basis is going to be really important for upping your fiber intake. But I also have some specific strategies that I wanted to mention when it comes to fiber. So for starters, 2 kiwis a day can be a very simple and pretty easy on your gut thing to try to increase fiber and increase motility. Another strategy that I really like is ground flax and chia seeds. So you want to grind up those seeds so that they're easy to digest. About a tablespoon or 2 a day is plenty and super easy. I mean, you can just put some of those in a smoothie. You can put some ground flax and chia seeds on top of a salad. You can make a chia pudding. You can sprinkle it on top of smoothie bowl or oatmeal or something like that that you're eating as well. There's many, many ways to, or yogurt is another thing you can throw that on top of. But those ground flax and chia seeds can be super beneficial for getting things moving. Prebiotics like psyllium, partially hydrogenated guar gum, cassia gum, inulin, those are all prebiotic fibers that can be really helpful as well to get things moving. Now, I did want to mention that when you are increasing fiber, especially with those strategies that I mentioned, you want to also increase your water intake when you're increasing fiber, because that can really impact things as well. Now, speaking of water, I mentioned water earlier and hydration and how that's important. You need water in order to move things through your digestive tract. Think of it like trying to move junk down a riverbed, right? It's not going to move easily if there's no water flowing. If that riverbed is dried out, you're going to drop junk in the river. Not that I recommend doing this, by the way. This is just as a visualization. You can't drop junk in a dry riverbed and expect it to be washed away, right? You need that water to be flowing in order to wash things down where you want them to go. So hydrating well is going to be important. My general recommendation, at least as a starting point, because hydration, like so many things in our bodies, is bio-individual at the end of the day. But a good strategy to start with is to aim for half of your body weight in ounces each day. So that would look like if you weigh, say, 140 pounds, you would want to aim for about 70 ounces of water each day. And you can adjust that based on your body weight. You will want more if, say, you're super active, you sweat a lot, you live in a dry climate. There's some things to consider when it comes to that. And then when it comes to hydration too, I mentioned this before, it's not just water by itself that's going to actually hydrate your body. Hydration is actually water plus electrolytes. So electrolyte minerals include minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium. You want to be adding some of those minerals to your water or have it along with your water so that you are making sure that your body is actually able to absorb and use the water that you're drinking. Otherwise, it can just come in and right back out, which isn't super helpful. Another strategy that you can use when it comes to hydration is just to drink slowly. Sometimes if you're really rushing and chugging down water, it may not be quite as beneficial, but if you're sipping your water, you're drinking it slowly, it can actually help with that peristalsis, with getting the actual movement of your digestive tract muscles going on. So it's kind of a win-win on that. All right, so those are really the basics when it comes to diet and hydration. But then we also want to think about movement. I mentioned the importance of movement. You need movement for proper digestion, especially if you're struggling with constipation. So simple things to try when it comes to movement: walking. If you're not walking every day, you're missing out. So many benefits to walking. It's probably the lowest barrier entry to moving your body on a regular basis. I have 2 dogs, so they hold me responsible for making sure that I get out walking every day. I've been getting up and just walking first thing in the morning so that I make sure it happens. And I have to say, I feel so much better when I am walking on a regular basis. So it's good for all of us. If you don't have a dog, that could be a strategy. Although I wouldn't recommend getting a dog just to go on walks because they are a fair amount of work as well. You can also just get up and take yourself for a walk. That also works. Yoga is another good one. You guys know I love me some yoga. I just recorded an episode a couple of episodes ago. I believe that was number 72, all about yoga and its benefits. I've been practicing yoga myself since I was about 18 years old and absolutely love it. It is one of the practices that really supports my life in so many ways. Highly recommend. It can be a fairly gentle form of yoga. It doesn't have to be super, super crazy. I teach live yoga classes within my membership, the Endo Wellness Initiative, to keep that as, part of your day-to-day routine. Rebounder is another good option, which is like those little mini trampolines that you jump on. I have not really tried this much myself, to be perfectly honest. It's one of those things that I just feel like will take up space in my house, and I don't know where I would put it. But I do hear a lot of benefits from it. It's one of those things that's been kind of scratching at the back of my head that I'd like to try, so I wanted to throw that in there. Basically, the jumping on the rebounder helps with circulation and lymphatic flow and digestion and all the things as well. So movement, get yourself up and out walking if you're not already doing that on a regular basis. And then we have to think deep breathing. Deep breathing, super important. The deep breathing acts both as a pumping action in your body and also helps to relax your body. So it's kind of a dual purpose thing. It can help activate and also help to relax some of those smooth muscles in your body to let things just let it go, right? So I would say just, remind yourself to take some deep breaths throughout your day can be really good. I also really recommend taking a few deep breaths before you eat. Now, one thing that I have been starting to do for myself and really pay attention to is what my belly feels like when I get ready to eat a meal. Hey there, Endo Warriors! I have some exciting news. Doors to the Endo Wellness Initiative are officially opening on February 7th, but only for 1 week. So that means you have until February 14th to join this incredible community of women who are taking back control of their health. If you're tired of struggling with pain, fatigue, bloating, and unpredictable flares, and you're looking for real holistic solutions that actually work, this is your chance to get the guidance and support that you need. Inside of the membership, you'll get access to on-demand content to help you custom tailor your diet to you, support your gut health, and more. You'll have access to live Q&A calls, personalized nutrition and lifestyle strategies, yoga and meditation classes, and a private support group, all designed to help you feel better and finally start thriving with endo. But remember, the doors close on February 14th, and I won't be reopening them for a while. So don't wait. Head on over to www.endobellygirl.com/join, JOIN, to get all the details and join us. Now let's get back to the episode. I am a person where when I am focused, when I'm working, when I'm active throughout my day, I tend to be more active in just holding my core. I tend to hold a little tension in my belly, but I know that that's not very helpful when I'm trying to digest. So what I've been doing is paying attention right before I'm going to eat a meal. What's happening in my belly? What does that feel like right now? And when I do feel tension, which if I'm honest is most of the time, I'll remind myself to pause and take a good 3 to 5 deep breaths before I begin my meal and allow the muscles of my belly to actually relax. And that can serve a few purposes. It's you're physically allowing the muscles to relax, which is always good. Secondly, you're helping to calm the nervous system. You're helping to send signals to your body that it's safe, that it's okay to go ahead and focus in on digestion because there's no immediate threats around you. And those things are really important when it comes to your gut health and your motility and keeping things moving through your digestive tract and your bowels. So you can see where everything you do and everything that happens in your digestive tract from top to bottom really matters before you've even eaten a bite of your meal, right? Taking those deep breaths can just help to calm down the nervous system and prepare your body so that you're really setting yourself up for success further down the line in your digestive tract. This is just a side note, but I wanted to mention it because so many people, I feel like, just think that digestion is this thing that just happens on its own and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. And that's really not true. Sure, once food gets into your stomach and beyond, there's not as much that you can do to affect that process. In the moment, there are things you can do as far as supporting your enzymes and stomach acid and bile production and all of that, but really your body kind of takes over that process. But what you can do is support the very top part of your digestive system, meaning that you're calming the nervous system, you're taking deep breaths, you're chewing your food thoroughly to make sure that it's well broken down before it even gets into your stomach. There's so many little things that you can do to help to support your digestive system and support constipation. Okay, a couple more things I wanted to mention here when it comes to supporting constipation. Just want to kind of cover all our bases here so you have plenty of ideas to work with. Squatty potty. Now, you may have heard of those before. I feel like they were, really kind of going crazy for a while there in popularity. They're still out there. Now, a squatty potty basically is a little device, I guess, for lack of a better word, that you put around the bottom of your toilet, and it just basically what it does is you put your feet on it when you are ready to have a bowel movement. And what that does is it just puts your body in a more natural position for elimination. So especially if you feel like you're straining a little bit, you're struggling with actually getting the bowels moving, a squatty potty can be something that is helpful. So they're pretty inexpensive. They have just very simple models that you can order online, or I'm sure somewhere find in stores. I couldn't tell you where. I'm sure they exist. Definitely they exist online. Just Google squatty potty. You will find it easily. And that can be something to consider as well. Because basically the seated position that we use on the toilet is just not really a super natural position to place the colon for elimination. So that just kind of helps just physically to put your body in a more optimal position for that. Now, a couple last things I wanted to mention, and I'm putting these things last on the list on purpose because I want you to make sure that you have your bases covered on everything else before you really dig into this stuff, in part because this is stuff that I really would recommend that you're working with a practitioner on. This is the kind of stuff that I help my clients with, along with everything I mentioned already, by the way. Those are all strategies that I help my clients with as well. But these are kind of some of the deeper layers of support when you need more, which is common, right? Especially when you have endometriosis, we know it's complex. We know there's a lot going on. And if you've been listening to everything so far going, man, I feel like I've tried so much of that already and I'm still struggling with constipation, then these next portions might really be for you. So first of those is digestive supports. So things like enzymes, things like stomach acid support, gallbladder support, fat digestion support. Those are all things that I really explore with all of my clients, but particularly if they're struggling with constipation. Now, that's stuff that I don't really recommend DIYing that stuff because A, you don't really know what your body needs if you're just guessing, and B, you can you can definitely end up doing more harm than good if you're not really sure what you're doing on those fronts. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I, feel the need to be a responsible practitioner over here. But I do want to mention that those are things that can very much impact the motility of your gut and are things that can be explored with somebody who really knows their stuff if you need deeper support on that. And then I hadn't really mentioned a lot about supplements, but some of the things I wanted to mention that can be supportive that are relatively easy to find. And these again are after you've worked through the basics. One is magnesium citrate. This is a particular form of magnesium that can help to move the bowels, or really what it does is it helps the smooth muscle to relax a little bit and allow for the bowel movements to happen. So magnesium citrate, it's not something you want to use as a long-term strategy, mind you, but it can be a good support in the short term when you just need to get things moving as you're working through what's actually causing that constipation in the first place. Ginger is another good option. You can even just do ginger tea and sip on that. That can help to just fire up the digestive juices and get things moving. caveat with that, I would be careful of that. If you have a lot of heartburn and stuff, it can feel a little burny if you're sensitive in that way, but it can also be really beneficial. And then triphala, which is a Ayurvedic blend of herbs, can also be really beneficial for getting the bowels moving. So just wanted to mention a few of those things that you can look into as well. All right, so those are really the top strategies that I would recommend to support getting those bowels moving. I just wanted to share with you too, before we finish off for today, that this is something that I do work with clients with on a regular basis. It's something I've noticed coming up a lot lately in my practice, which is partly why I wanted to record an episode all about constipation. So I did have one client. I wanted to just share a little success story with you because I think it helps to just kind of keep you going, keep you motivated here, just to show you that there can be another side to this. So I had a client who came to me with chronic constipation. She was really struggling with that. She was feeling just really stressed about eating in general. She was eating a very limited diet because it just seemed like everything would bother her, everything would make her bloat. She was really struggling with that chronic constipation on a daily basis. She was really struggling with going out to eat, with traveling, just really stressed out about all of that stuff. And so we worked through a lot of the strategies that I mentioned here today. We also worked through digestive supports. I helped support her dysbiosis. She had some bacterial imbalance in her gut that was impacting her bowel movements as well. We worked on her hydration. We worked on dietary strategies together. And then I heard back from her a little while later, and she was telling me about how she was able to take a 2-week trip traveling through Europe, basically able to eat whatever she wanted during that time and was feeling great the whole time. No constipation, no bloating, no issues, where those all used to be like on a daily basis for her. So that made me really happy to hear. And I just wanted to share that story with you all because I think it's nice to hear how things can turn out for other people, give you a little inspiration for your day. All right, my friend, that's a wrap on constipation. So just remember, constipation isn't just an annoying symptom. It's your body trying to tell you something. But by addressing the root causes of constipation and making some of those small, consistent changes, you can actually start to feel relief and get those bowels moving on a daily basis. All right, my friend, if you loved this episode, I would really love it if you would leave a review on your favorite podcasting platform and share this episode with another Endo Warrior or somebody else who you know struggles with these issues and could really use support in that area, because the more that you share and leave reviews and all the things, it can really help this podcast to reach more Endo Warriors who need support just like you. And if you're listening to this episode going, wow, I really would like some deeper support with all of this and have somebody to guide me through this process, you can also schedule a free consultation with me. And the link for that is always hangs out in the show notes. You can find it there. I offer a free 30-minute consultation so we can just chat about your situation, what's going on with you, and see if you would be a good fit for doing this functional nutrition work together. All right, my friend, have a wonderful day. Much love, and we'll talk soon. Thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. If you loved what you heard, be sure to share with a friend and subscribe so that you can keep coming back for more. If you are ready to take the next step towards getting to the root cause of your endo symptoms like endo belly, pain, fatigue, and so much more, you need to download my free ultimate guide to building your own endometriosis diet. You can find the link in the show notes or at www.endobellygirl.com. Until next time, my friend.